Manchester City could well be about to win the transfer window, and no one would have thought that with Liverpool's transfer window being so active and so busy, but we're going to be comparing the two as well as the other two clubs that have been big spenders in Arsenal and Chelsea, the likely top four in the Premier League. Who has won the Premier League transfer window going into what promises to be an unbelievable season? I can't wait for it, but the rumours at Manchester City are changing the narrative. Donnarumma and Rodrygo, two prize assets. One prize asset from PSG, a vital component in their trophy gathering season last season. And of course, Rodrygo, we all know what he's capable of at Real Madrid. There's lots of things that need to happen before that. And there are also some confusing and strange situations that Manchester City fans certainly have some questions as to what is going on. Why are we changing the methodology at Manchester City? In particular, Ederson leaving the football club potentially, because this needs to happen first. Of course, Ederson needs to join Galatasaray before any sort of Gianluigi Donnarumma deal can happen. And of course, Savinho, who's being linked with Spurs, he has to leave before any deal for Rodrygo to join Manchester City can materialise. But there is so many interesting questions around the situation. But let's start with what Donnarumma's agent has said. We were talking about renewing the contract until the Club World Cup. I don't believe the coach changed his mind in a month. That's what upsets me the most. At this point, it was better not to renew the contract. We are currently evaluating solutions for Donnarumma. Perhaps there are clubs in the Premier League that can pay the required fee, because I heard that Paris Saint-Germain demands for the transfer fee are somewhat excessive. They talk about respect, but all they want is money, which I think is a untenable relationship. The relationship between PSG and Donnarumma, that is finalised, and that was then confirmed with the statement from Donnarumma himself. I'm not going to read you the whole thing here. Feel free to pause the video and read it for yourself, but I think the key point is that second paragraph you can see. Unfortunately, someone has decided that I can no longer be part of the group and contribute to the team's success. I am disappointed and disheartened. So if that doesn't confirm that Donnarumma and the PSG relationship is finished, I don't know what does. But what it certainly doesn't do is confirm that he's joining Manchester City, because there's still a lot of moving components need to happen before this deal can actually go ahead. Of course, Ederson needs to join Galatasaray, but a lot of City fans, some actually are happy with this because some have been a little bit disappointed in Ederson's form recently. Last season in particular was a dip in form, but the style of goalkeepers. You've got one goalkeeper who is very good with the ball at his feet and an integral part of Manchester City's build-up play, playing out from the back. It's the way Manchester City have played for nearly a decade now, with Ederson between the sticks. You're bringing Donnarumma, who is one of the world's greatest traditional style goalkeepers in terms of out-and-out shot-stopping ability. There's very few that are better than him in the world right now. But putting the ball at his feet, not so convincing. But the way Manchester City play, maybe Pep's evolving, maybe Pep's changing. The press that Manchester City so often face nowadays, teams are so aggressive with Manchester City. Maybe it's just a case of going over the top. A very simple, archaic, Sam Allardyce-esque approach from Pep Guardiola could well be the approach for Pep. And I'm not sure it's as simple as that, in all honesty. But there are question marks as to why there is such a contrasting philosophy in goalkeepers between Donnarumma and Ederson. James Trafford, as well, has just joined the football club. Now, of course, he's going to be a little bit miffed at this situation, considering he is literally the number one. I'm not sure going into next season he was ever destined to be the actual number one. I still think if Ederson stays, Ederson will be the number one choice to start most games. But ultimately, I think Trafford knew that he was not going to be the number one. So not much has changed in that regard. But what does change is he would have been under the impression that he wasn't going to be number one when Ederson's there, leaving at the end of next season, because Ederson's contract, of course, is up at the end of next season. So in steps James Trafford after Ederson departs. If Ederson departs now and Donnarumma comes in, Donnarumma would likely be given a long-term contract, which puts James Trafford in the number two spot for a much longer period of time as a result of that. So he's going to be miffed, but I have a feeling that he may have known that Manchester City have plans and there aren't any certainties around Ederson's future either. So I feel a bit sorry for him, in all honesty, but it's a difficult situation. But let's have a look at Rodrygo's situation right now. Fabrizio says Manchester City are considering a move for Rodrygo after imminent exits. Grealish gone, McAtee and Savinho can leave. Manchester City see Rodrygo as dream target. Guardiola's a big fan. Real Madrid will let him leave if player wants, asking for around 100 million euros, which is about 85 million pounds. I think City could get that deal down a little bit, but as a result, I want to fantasize a little bit and let's pretend Manchester City get all the deals. And I also want to compare to the fantasy world of Liverpool getting all their deals done, and Arsenal getting all their deals done, and Chelsea getting all their deals done. So let's do that. This is the confirmed transfers as well as rumoured transfers for those 4 football clubs. As you can see, Liverpool, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kerkez, Ekitike and Pexi so far, but strong links with Mark Gay, and of course the ongoing saga of Alexander Isak, which seems to be a never-ending saga at this rate. But will it happen? Won't it happen? We'll see. Manchester City, of course, Reinders, Cherki, Aït-Nouri, Bettinelli, Trafford and Nipan as well. But if you look at Bettinelli and Trafford, 2 goalkeepers have already signed for Manchester City. You add Donnarumma to that, and it's a completely new set of goalkeepers Manchester City will be going into the new season with. Of course, Rodrygo, you add that to the list, and that is a pretty formidable transfer window. Zubamendi, Gyökeres, Madueke, Mosquera, Norgard and Kepa have all joined Arsenal, of course, with the strongest link being Eberechi Eze. And of course, Chelsea have been busy. Delat, Pedro, Gittins, Haito, Estevao, Esugo, Sarr and Paez. Simons and Garnacho added to that list if rumoured transfers actually go ahead, and there's a very strong possibility of that actually happening. But what would that look like on the pitch? So let's have a look at the potential starting 11s for all 4 of these sides combined, factoring in no one's injured and factoring in the rumoured transfers. Let's say they all get the rumoured deals done and the fantasy can be a reality for these 4 football clubs. As you can see, Manchester City, Donnarumma in between the sticks in a back 4 of Ryan Aït-Nouri, Vardiol, Ruben Diaz and Mateus Nunes at right back. Still a weak spot for City for me, that, but still going forward, sensational. Defensively, a few question marks around Mateus Nunes, but a midfield 3 of Tijjani Reinders, Rodri and Ryan Cherki. I mean, you could put Phil Foden in there, Gundogan could play, Bernardo Silva could play, but the point being is that front 3 right there is absolutely scintillating. Technical ability to die for. What a midfield 3 that is. And a front 3 that ain't too shabby either. Marmoush, Haaland and Rodrygo, the goals in that, not just the front 3, the whole team. Vardiol loves finding the back of the net. You know, Rodri is a brilliant goal contributor. Reinders will be crashing the box and getting goals. Ryan Cherki is a known goal creator as well as getter. Marmoush, he knows where the back of the net is. He was smashing them in for fun in the Bundesliga, and I think he's one to keep an eye on this season. But so exciting. What a starting 11 that is. Of course, Arsenal, David Raya, Jurrien Timber, you could see Ben White in there, you could see Jurrien Timber playing at the left back as well, but Gabriel, Lewis Skelly as well, completing the back 4. Zubamendi, Declan Rice and Odegaard is a very good midfield 3, in all honesty. Zubamendi, I think, frees up Declan Rice. I think that gives him the freedom to come forward a little bit, which is exactly what Arsenal want, because I think he's a bit better in that department. Eberechi Eze has signed, let's say, and that completes a front 3 of Bukayo Saka and Victor Gyökeres and Eberechi Eze, which is a very, very competent front 3 that is going to cause every side they face problems. Then, of course, Liverpool, Alisson, Van Dijk. Let's say Konate doesn't start and they get their man in Mark Gay. Milos Kerkez and Frimpong are the 2 new fullbacks, with 2 holding midfielders in Alistair and Gravenberch, Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo and Alexander Isak. That starting 11 before the rumours of Manchester City being linked with Rodrygo, in particular Rodrygo, scared me. Adding Rodrygo to Manchester City, even if Liverpool were to get Alexander Isak, it doesn't scare me as much anymore, because I think Manchester City have more goals in their side than Liverpool have in theirs. I also think Manchester City's midfield, if Rodri stays fit and Tijjani Reinders stays fit, or Foden gets back to the 23-24 version we saw of him, or Ryan Cherki has a season and a breakout season, which we know he's capable of if you've watched any sort of glimpses of him, and that in the small time he's been in the limelight, he's been a sensational talent, has Ryan Cherki. So it's going to be interesting to see how these midfields compete with one another when they face each other. Chelsea, let's have a look at them. I think straight away the number 1 is the weak spot, the goalkeeper. And I think if you look at all 3 of the other sides in Alisson, and if it was to be Donnarumma at Manchester City, and of course David Raya at Arsenal, those 3 are title-winning goalkeepers. Robert Sanchez at Chelsea, I don't think he's going to let them down on too many occasions for me. But the back four, pretty solid. Reece James, if he stays fit. Yep, Cucurella knows how to get involved in the goal getting. Levi Colwill and Chalobah. Caicedo and Fernandes have absolutely stepped up in last year in particular. They started to get a little bit closer to their £100 million valuation each, which I think is about time. But still, Xavi Simons if he signs, and Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, what a midfield three that is behind João Pedro, who on his day is a sensational talent. But will João Pedro be able to maintain consistency over the course of the season? Because of course he'll have Liam Delap breathing down his neck, who will want to prove a point at the top half of the Premier League, considering last season he was a relegation fighting striker. It's going to be an amazing season, but I do think if the deals get done, all the rumoured transfer windows, a little bit biased, but I believe Manchester City will have won this transfer window if they are able to get Donnarumma and Rodrygo over the line. Still question marks over Donnarumma and how he actually fits into the system at Manchester City and how City, what the style of play becomes. I think there's a huge question mark over that, but in terms of the actual profile of the player, what a signing it would be. What do you think? Make sure to like and subscribe to Transfer News Live. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.